Hi guys, Synova here again for another week's chat on the State Line Mob and the Dixie Mafia. So we're going to be talking about the Revenge of Buford Pusser. So this is going to be quite a story here. But for those of you that don't know who I am Synova Cantrell. I'm Southwest Missouri's #1 true crime writer. I run a cold case blog that reaches about 500,000 people potentially each week. And I write about obscure cold cases for Missouri Missing Organization as a victim's advocate. And then I started writing a series on the Dixie Mafia to help bring publicity to these cold cases that's related to the Dixie Mafia. One of them's even 51 years old. So I started doing all kinds of research and stuff on these cases and found out there's a lot of unknown facts about the Dixie Mafia. There's a lot of, things that people have heard that maybe aren't true. So I started doing Mobster Monday posts every Monday on different things, different factions and stories about the Dixie Mafia. So if that's something you guys like, you like that kind of content, go over to synovaink.com, synovaink.com, and check out my blog. Mondays is the Mobster Mondays. Fridays are the cold cases and missing persons type of cases. And then every week I have a newsletter that I send out, a true crime newsletter that is just for my subscribers. So you get content that's only for you. And you get a free ebook if you sign up for my subscriber list. So go over there, check that out, see all the different information you can find there. And then I do have all sorts of true crime books on Amazon. You can check me out on that. But this week, right now, we are going to be talking about the Revenge of Buford Pusser. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Hollywood movies about that are titled Walking Tall, those are actually all loosely based on the sheriff of McNairy County, Buford Pusser. Now, Buford Pusser was a actual sheriff in McNairy County, Tennessee. He did fight and wage a war on the State Line Mob, and he did take down a lot of bad guys. But some of the dramatizations in the Walking Tall movies are a little far-fetched. Some of them are just completely false. Others could have happened that way, but most likely not. So today we're going to talk about the Revenge of Buford Pusser, which is the basis of the movies Walking Tall. Okay, so Walking Tall tells the story of this sheriff named Buford Pusser, who his wife is brutally murdered. He is stabbed and left and tortured and left for dead. He comes back almost from the grave. I mean, he comes back with a vengeance. He changes from lawman to vigilante, and he comes back and he's going to take the corruption out of this county. And so he comes back, he kills off all the people involved. He takes out the corruption, he cleans up the county, and when he gets thrown into court for, crossing the line, he rips his shirt open, shows the scars all over his chest, and the jury automatically feels sorry for him, and they acquit him of any wrongdoing. And it's this big dramatic story. Okay, was there a Buford Pusser? Yes. Was he a sheriff? Yes. Was he actually stabbed 7 times and left on the side of the road? Yes, he was. Did he cross the line in some of his as a lawman? I think so. Yeah. But did he have this dramatic vigilante justice where he went and incited his revenge on every single person that killed his wife? I don't think so. Did he rip open his shirt and show his scar? None of that happened. So there's some stories that say Buford Pusser was corrupt as well. There's some stories that say he was a saint. So I try to find the story down the middle and find the truth somewhere in the middle. You've got all these different. You've got one side of the story, you've got the other side of the story, then you've got the truth somewhere in the middle, and that's where I try to stick right in the middle of the road. So this is what the Revenge of Buford Pusser really is, as far as I can find it in my research. Now, there's detractors that hate him to this day. There's people that worship the ground he used to walk on. I mean, they have big festivals in this town. They have a museum for him, you know. So there's people on both sides of the fence here. So, but basically what happened, there was an ambush on New Hope Road on August 12, 1967. If you see me looking down, it's because I have my notes down here. So, Sheriff Pusser and his wife were ambushed on a call, and his wife was killed. His face was shot. His jaw was shot off. He goes through terrible surgeries, 12 of them, to recover somewhat of his face. And as he's, bursting with this adrenaline rush, trying to survive this attack, when he gets to the hospital, of course, the investigators, first thing they start asking him who did this, because they're afraid he's going to die. So he's pumped up with this adrenaline, and he's like, he's got this kind of supernatural grit that he's like, I am not going out this way. They are not going to take me out like this. And so he somehow has this mindset and this mental fortitude to say, this is not happening like this. And so that is basically what saved him. I mean, he went through 12 surgeries. He lost his wife, had to bury his wife from his hospital bed, had to, all these things. But that mental fortitude is what carried him through. But right in the middle of that testosterone fueled moment in his life, where he's got so much adrenaline pumping through him just to survive, that's when they ask him who did this. So he names off Towhead White, he names off Kirksey Nix Jr., and then he names off Carmine Gagliardi, however you want to say it, Gagliardi, I don't know, Gary McDaniel, George McGann. Okay, now I'm totally mispronouncing that name, and I apologize. But this is who he thinks did it. Well, after 12 surgeries, 18 days, all this drama, the testosterone levels have dropped, his adrenaline levels has dropped. He's gone through massive amounts of pain, trying to recover from multiple surgeries. Now he can't remember for sure who did it. He's not for sure that it was them. He thinks it is. He tries to work with law enforcement, goes and looks through, lineups and stuff like that. But after that rush of almost insane adrenaline, he can't 100% verify it. And so he's trying to be honest and say, look, I'm not sure. In the heat of the moment, I think it was these people, but now that I've stepped back, I'm not 100% sure. And so some of his detractors try to say that's him trying to hide it. He's like, I'm going to send these people off on a tangent, and I'm going to take them down myself. Okay, so what happened? I don't know. Did he go off on this big vigilante justice and slaughter everybody that killed his wife? I don't think so. And the reason being is I've investigated the deaths of each one of these men, and each one of these men died in ways that did not include Buford Pusser. So I will go through each one of them and let you guys decide what you think. But I am more apt to believe that he may have been involved in one man's murder. There is some slight possibility in that one, but him going out and just slaying all the bad guys because they killed his wife, I don't think that happened. So here we go. Let's investigate. One of the books you can check out to get more information about this is the Mississippi Mud book. I didn't write it. I can't even remember exactly who did, but I'll put a link in the comments below. So let's start out with the first guy, Carmine Gagliardi. Okay, and I'm sorry about that name. I apologize. They say, legend says, that Carmine's body was found riddled with bullets floating in the Boston Harbor in 1969. Okay, Carmine Gagliardi Gagliardi was supposed to be a mafia hitman in Boston. Okay, well, I did find a Carmine Gagliardi, but I did not find a Carmine. So is that just a someone wrote his name wrong in the newspaper, or is this two different people? I don't know. But I will tell you, I could not find anything in the newspaper of Carmine Gagliardi at all. Nowhere. Other than Buford Pusser mentioning this name. Carmine Gagliardi was a Boston hitman, but he was not found floating in a Boston harbor. Now, he was actually put in prison for killing a local bartender named Joe Lanza. Now, Gagliardi was in prison and died in prison of a drug overdose in 1975. Okay, so he was not ever murdered in Boston Harbor. Now, he was a hitman and he had put bodies in the Boston Harbor, but he was never in there. So I find it hard to believe that Gagliardi had anything, Buford Pusser had anything to do with Gagliardi's death. And you'll find out why too, because see, Buford Pusser dies shortly after all of this. And we'll get into that in another thing. So Mr. Gags may have put bodies in the Boston Harbor, but his body was never in there. So unless he was swimming, he was not dead in that harbor. So that is an outright falsehood that there's no way. Now, here's where I have a hard time thinking. It is 2,400 miles to get to Boston from where Buford Pusser was still acting as sheriff. So how did he get to 2,400 miles to Boston to kill this guy and back without anyone noticing him missing from his job? So besides the fact that the guy died in prison from a drug overdose, this one, I say no, never happened. Okay, Gary McDaniel. This is said that he was found floating in the Sabine River in Texas, February 8th, 1960. Over there to Texas. That is what the rumor mill has said, and that's what Hollywood has made out, this big vigilante fighting for his wife's death. But here's the thing. What they failed to mention is McDaniel was neck deep in trouble. He was a professional gambler at the club he was in. I'll have to look that up. But he was in a local club in Texas there, and he was accused of cheating, and there was a gunfight. He was shot down at the table by someone accusing him of cheating at cards. So there's nothing there. If there was an investigation back in the day, I don't know, but my investigation shows no connection between the gunman and Buford Pusser. So to me, it looks like this gambler got into a bad game of cards. The guy accused him of cheating and shot him at the table. I don't think Buford Pusser had anything to do with this one at all. Okay, the next man, we've already talked about that. Now we're talking about Towhead White. Now let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, that was McGann. Yes, okay. McGann and McDaniel, I've got those two confused. The guy that was killed at the table was McGann. Now, McDaniel was killed and left in the Sabine River, but there was nothing, he was trying to kill a Mississippi prosecutor, and he got in trouble for that, and he was going to turn state's evidence. So I got McGann and McDaniel mixed up. McGann was the one that was shot by a guy playing cards at the table. McDaniel was the one that was found in the river. He was actually going to turn state's evidence in this big conspiracy to kill a Mississippi prosecutor. So basically, both of them were killed in other ways that had nothing to do with Buford Pusser. Now we come all the way down to Towhead White. Now, for those of you that don't know, Towhead White and Buford Pusser were mortal enemies from the beginning of the saga. Then, when Buford Pusser killed Towhead White's girlfriend in self-defense, that is when this bloodbath began. Okay. So Towhead White, it is said, he was the one that called out the hit, and he contacted his cohort Kirksey Nix Jr. to figure it out. So, but here's what happened to Towhead after the ambush of Buford Pusser. Towhead White gets out of prison. Okay, well, it's April 2nd, 1969. Towhead is pulling up in front of the El Rey Motel. The girl in the front seat with him was actually the estranged wife of the hotel's owner, Barry Smith. Now, Barry Smith is known as Junior. I don't know why, other than possibly his dad was Barry Smith as well. But don't get that confused with Kirksey Nix Jr., okay? Junior Smith watched them pull into the driveway and said he stepped out to meet them. Now, there was a verbal altercation that ensued between the two men, and Carl Douglas Towhead started cussing at Junior Smith and started shooting in his direction. So Junior Smith stepped back inside, grabbed his rifle and his gun and his handgun, and shot up the car. Well, the woman, seeing what was going to happen, she slumped down in the seat and slipped out the passenger side door without getting hurt whatsoever. But by the time the sun rose on April 3rd, 1969, Towhead White was dead. Now, Junior Smith was arrested for the murder, but then the charges were dropped because it was ruled self-defense. Now, here's where things get a little touchy according to the whole Buford Pusser thing. Some of the initial investigators questioned this man, Barry Smith. He peppered the car with bullets, but Towhead White was killed from a bullet right between his eyes. Okay, if you follow that trajectory of that bullet, it is more likely that someone was laying on the top of the roof of the El Rey Motel and shot him with a rifle. Okay, but here's the thing. It even says this in the State Line Mob book by W.R. Morris, I believe it is, or W.O. Morris. I'll link his book below as well. It even states right there in that immediately rumors started swirling around that Buford Pusser may have been on the roof shooting, or he may have hired a hitman to go on the roof and shoot. There was no official evidence found, but this is right where the townsfolk said good riddance. Towhead White had of the story with the revenge of Buford Pusser. Do I think that he went and killed everybody on that list of suspects? No. Do I think he possibly could have been involved in Towhead White's murder? Possibly, but there's no proof of that. So that's the case that I have for you this week, the revenge of Buford Pusser. Keep following along. This story continues for a long time, and like I said, if you like this content, go over to my website, sign up for my true crime newsletter so you get all my blog posts and some extra content and a free ebook. And then also subscribe to this channel so you can get a notification time I put up something new. So thank you guys.